Maya was walking her Belgian Malinois, calm, legal, unbothered. But to one cop, a black woman with a strong dog was enough to raise suspicion. Hours later, he came back. No questions, just cuffs. She was arrested in front of her home. Her dog sat beside her, watching, recording. A hidden camera in his collar captured everything. The next morning, Maya was released. She uploaded the footage, sent it out. No yelling, no violence, just truth. Maya wasn't just anyone. She trained military dogs in war zones. And her dog, not just a pet, but a witness. They messed with the wrong one. Before we continue, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because the next story is even more powerful. Chapter 1. The Walk. The morning was quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of silence that felt staged, like something held its breath, waiting. Maya Carter stepped outside with a leash in one hand and calm in her stride. Beside her, a large Belgian Malinois trotted with perfect discipline, his coat catching the early sun. She didn't stand out because she wanted to. She stood out because everything about her challenged the neighborhood's image of normal. A black woman in a predominantly white suburb, tall, composed, walking a dog that looked like it belonged in combat gear, rather than on a sidewalk lined with mailboxes and manicured hedges. Maya wasn't afraid. She was trained not to be. The leash was firm in her grip but relaxed. The dog responded to every subtle cue. A flick of her wrist, a shift in weight, the softness in her voice that no one could hear but him. He didn't bark, he didn't lunge. He simply moved with her, focused, loyal, alert. Halfway down the street, she noticed the cruiser. It was parked 2 blocks ahead, angled awkwardly at the curb like it hadn't been meant to stop. The engine was off, but she knew someone was inside. She could feel it. The stare, heavy and unblinking. Her spine didn't stiffen, but the dog's ears twitched. "Easy," she murmured under her breath. The command wasn't for the dog. It was for herself. She kept walking. The cruiser didn't move. Neither did the officer. When she passed, she didn't glance inside. She didn't offer a nod or a smile. She wasn't in the mood to make anyone feel safe about her presence. This was her neighborhood, too. She paid taxes. She followed the rules. She carried herself with dignity. That should have been enough. It never was. By the time she reached the corner, the patrol car had started its engine. She didn't turn around, but she could hear it creeping behind her. Slow, deliberate, tires rolling over the pavement like a whisper. The dog tensed slightly. She clicked her tongue once. He eased. She crossed the street and headed back toward her house. The patrol car stayed behind her, never overtaking, never stopping, just watching. She didn't give them what they wanted. No signs of nervousness, no hesitation, just poise. When she finally reached her driveway, the cruiser rolled past and turned the corner without a word. But she knew. This wasn't over. Inside, she knelt beside her dog and unclipped the collar. Her fingers moved deftly beneath the thick nylon strap, sliding out a small chip the size of her thumbnail. A hidden camera. "Good boy," she whispered, placing a kiss just above his eyes. He licked her chin in return, unaware that he had just become a witness. She placed the device on her desk, ready to upload the footage. Just in case. Because Maya Carter had walked through war zones, commanded dogs under gunfire, and trained soldiers to trust their K-9 partners with their lives. She knew danger, and it never looked the same twice. Sometimes it wore desert camouflage. Other times it wore a badge. Chapter 2. Knock, then silence. Maya's fingers hovered above her keyboard, the camera chip still warm from where it had been tucked under her dog's collar. She plugged in the small USB adapter, waited for her computer to register it, and opened the folder. Clean, crisp footage popped up. 1080p, time-stamped, no sound, just her morning walk from the dog's point of view. Every moment was there. The patrol car parked up ahead, the silent creep behind them, even the slow roll past her driveway. She didn't need this footage today. Not yet. But that wasn't the point. She kept records now, out of habit, out of necessity, out of the unspoken warning she carried every time she stepped outside her own front door. Maya leaned back in her chair and exhaled. The dog, still unnamed to her neighbors but known to the army as Echo, curled up beneath the table. His ears perked at every creak in the house, but his body stayed still. His trust in her was absolute. The knock came late afternoon. 3 sharp raps. Maya glanced toward the door, then toward the time. 4:37 p.m. She wasn't expecting anyone. She moved slowly, deliberately. Echo remained behind, trained not to respond until commanded. When she opened the door, he stayed just out of sight. The officer from the morning stood there, closer now, taller than she expected, with a stiff jaw and a badge that gleamed a little too proudly in the fading light. "Ma'am," he said, without greeting. "You live here?" Maya narrowed her eyes, keeping her hand on the door frame. "Yes." "We got a call," he said flatly, "about a large dog roaming off leash. Description matches what we saw earlier." Her eyes didn't move from his. "My dog was leashed. You saw that." He hesitated, a beat too long. "Still need to take a look around." For verification, Maya didn't move. "You don't have a warrant." "I don't need one. It's a welfare check." She paused, then smiled, tight, controlled. "You're not here for my dog," she said. "You're here because I didn't flinch this morning." The silence between them stretched, thin and sharp. The officer shifted his weight. His fingers flexed slightly, resting near the edge of his belt. "I can come back with backup," he said, like a warning dressed as courtesy. Maya nodded once, slowly. "Do that." Then she closed the door. Click. Locked. She walked away, her heart hammering, but not from fear, from fury, from the quiet confirmation that the unease in her chest this morning wasn't paranoia. They had picked her, and now they were circling. 2 hours passed, no knock, no sirens, just the subtle weight of tension pushing in through her walls. Echo paced once, then twice, sensing it too. He paused by the window but didn't bark. He didn't need to. Just past 7 p.m., Maya dimmed the lights and walked to the kitchen. Her phone was already on the counter, a contact list pulled up. She didn't have many friends in this city, but she knew a few names that mattered. Her fingers hovered over one, Amira Ellis, civil rights lawyer, one of the few people she trusted. She tapped the number. It rang once, twice. "Maya?" The voice came through sharp and immediate. "Everything okay?" "Not yet," Maya said, "but I think it's about to get worse." Outside, under the dying light of the sun, the patrol car passed by again, slower this time. Echo stood at the window, watching, waiting.
Chapter 3. The arrest morning came like any other. Sunlight pushed past the blinds, birds sang the same indifferent tunes, and the neighborhood lawns still looked like postcards. But Maya knew today wasn't going to be like the rest. She fed her dog, checked the chip, and stepped outside like she always did. Jeans, t-shirt, boots, calm. The leash clicked into place. Her dog, the same Belgian Malinois that had walked beside her through war zones, stood ready, ears perked. The world might pretend everything was fine, but he knew better. He felt it too. They made it 3 blocks before the cruiser pulled in front of them. No siren, no warning, just presence. The officer stepped out slowly, eyes hard, expression unreadable. Another cruiser pulled in behind them. Maya's pulse didn't spike. She didn't run. That wasn't her style. She stood still, hand steady on the leash. "Ma'am," the officer said, already reaching for his belt. "We need you to come with us." "On what charge?" Maya asked, voice flat. "Failure to comply with a prior investigation," he replied, but even he didn't sound convinced. The second officer moved in from behind, gloves on. "This is a mistake," Maya said, "and you know it." Neither of them answered. One grabbed her wrist, the other took the leash. That was the moment her dog growled, a low, warning hum that came from somewhere deep in his chest. Not a threat, not yet. Just recognition. Something was wrong. "Easy," Maya whispered. The dog went still again, but her eyes didn't. They locked with the first officer's, and in that glance she spoke without saying a word. "You picked the wrong one." They cuffed her in full view of her neighbors. A woman watering her roses froze. A man collecting mail ducked inside. No one stepped forward. No one said a word. Maya kept her head high as they walked her to the car. The dog didn't resist either. But before they could drive away, one officer clipped his leash to a cruiser door handle and walked off. He was left alone, on purpose. A neighbor recorded part of it, then deleted it. The holding cell smelled like sweat and fear and indifference. Maya sat on a steel bench, wrists bruised, breathing slow. She wasn't new to the feeling of captivity, but this time it was different. This time it was personal. They didn't read her rights, didn't let her call anyone. They didn't even process her for hours. She sat in silence, letting the clock tick. Back home, her dog waited, loyal as ever, still and silent, guarding a house that no longer felt safe. A hidden camera still rested in his collar, recording from the moment they'd stepped out that morning. That chip had everything. Everything they tried to erase. Late that evening, a different officer unlocked her cell. No apology, no explanation. "You're free to go. No charges filed, no paperwork signed, just an empty hallway and a buzzed open door." Maya didn't speak. She walked past them all, head held high, not for pride, but for proof. They wanted her quiet. They wanted her small. Instead, she left with a plan. She reached her front porch by 8:47 p.m. Her dog stood at the door, tail thumping once. He knew. She crouched down, wrapped her arms around his neck, and whispered, "Good boy." Then she pulled the chip from his collar. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. She uploaded the file. Then she picked up her phone. Amira answered on the first ring. "Maya?" Maya's voice was calm, precise, lethal. "They arrested the wrong woman." Chapter 4. Playback. The footage began in silence. A wide suburban sidewalk, bright morning sun, Maya's legs in frame as her Belgian Malinois paced steadily beside her. His collar camera was angled just right, tilted upward, catching not just the pavement but the shapes around them, trees, parked cars, and the patrol car watching from a distance. No narration, no edits, just raw evidence. Amira Ellis watched the entire clip in silence, her lips pressed into a tight line. A Harvard-educated civil rights lawyer, Amira had seen plenty. But something about this case lit a fire behind her eyes. "They thought you wouldn't fight back," she said finally. "They thought wrong," Maya replied. They sat in Maya's dining room, laptop open, camera chip copied onto 3 encrypted drives. Her dog lay curled nearby, calm but alert. Maya had already locked every door. She didn't need more surprises. Amira replayed the moment where the officers approached. Pause. Zoom. Time-stamped. One grabbed Maya's arm before saying a word. Then the arrest. The cuffs. The silence. Now there it was, clear as day. "They never read you your rights," Amira said. "They never stated cause. This isn't just bad protocol. It's unconstitutional." Maya didn't flinch. "Will it matter?" Amira looked her in the eye. "It will now." That evening, Amira made a call. Then another. Within 24 hours, the footage was in the hands of a local investigative journalist, Cass Vega, known for chasing corruption with sharp questions and sharper reporting. Cass didn't need convincing. She watched the footage twice, then asked one question. "Is she ready to go public?" Maya hesitated, not because she was scared, but because she knew what came next. They'd dig up everything. Her military record, her discharge, her family, they'd twist it all. That was how the game was played. But Maya had survived worse, and now she had proof. "Yes," she said. "I'm ready." The article dropped the next morning. Arrested for walking, a veteran's encounter with suburban power. The video was embedded mid-article, uncut, unfiltered, no dramatic music, just reality. Within hours, the post had over 200,000 views. By noon, it was trending on 3 platforms. And by sundown, Maya's phone buzzed nonstop. News outlets called, activists reached out. Old friends she hadn't spoken to in years sent messages like, "I saw what they did. You okay?" She didn't answer most of them. Instead, she opened the door and sat on the steps with her dog. The leash hung loose from her fingers. Across the street, the same patrol car slowed. The same officer sat inside. He didn't stop this time, just watched and drove on. But his eyes were different now. They knew. Amira arrived at sunset. "You're going to need a press statement." "I didn't plan to be anyone's headline." "You didn't choose this," Amira said, "but now you represent it. You either control the story or let them rewrite it for you." Maya looked at the sky. The world had changed in 48 hours. She wasn't just the woman who got arrested anymore. She was the woman with the tape, and no badge could erase that.
Chapter 5. The Spotlight. By sunrise, the story had made national news. The video clip had been shared by civil rights pages, military veteran groups, and watchdog media. No narration, no dramatic edits, just facts. A black woman, a dog on a leash, and a pair of officers who forgot the world was watching. Maya's name was now in headlines. Some called her a hero, others, a liar. The internet had made up its mind. The system hadn't. Yet. She stood in front of a podium borrowed from a city hall conference room. Her lawyer, Amira, stood to the side, nodding in quiet support. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions before she even spoke. Maya's eyes scanned the room. No fear, no shake in her hands. "I served this country with everything I had," she began. "I led combat dogs through war zones so that others wouldn't have to. I followed rules. I enforced them. I respected them. But last week, on a quiet street, I was treated like I didn't belong. Because of my skin. Because of my dog. Because I didn't flinch." She took a breath. "I was arrested without cause, silenced without rights. And if not for the camera around my dog's neck, the world would have never believed me." The room fell into a stunned hush. "I'm not just speaking for me. I'm speaking for every voice they tried to erase." She stepped back. The moment settled like a storm cloud before thunder. Back at home, Maya sat on her porch with her dog resting by her feet. He hadn't barked once during the chaos. He never needed to. Across the street, neighbors who once ignored her now offered nods. Some even crossed the road to speak. "I'm so sorry," one woman whispered. "I had no idea." Maya didn't respond. She just looked at her dog. "I did," she said softly. Inside, Amira was busy fielding press requests and legal inquiries. CNN wants a live interview. Civil Rights Alliance is offering to support legal action. And the department's under pressure. They're launching an internal investigation. Maya stayed silent. "I know you didn't ask for this," Amira added, "but people are listening now." Maya looked out the window. It was the same street, the same trees, but everything had changed. Not because she shouted, because she showed them the truth. That evening, she received a call from someone unexpected. "Miss Carter, this is Commander Rhodes. I served with you in Kandahar." Her brow lifted. "Sir, I saw the footage. I just wanted to say, what you did, it matters." Maya didn't say much in return. She didn't need to. At night, she sat beside her dog, watching the clip play on repeat. Not out of ego, but clarity. She needed to remember what had been done, because the fight ahead wasn't over. "You did good," she whispered, scratching behind his ears. The dog let out a low, tired grunt. Outside, the world was changing, one headline at a time.
Chapter 6. The Pushback. 3 days after her press conference, Maya's face was on every screen she didn't want to be on. Cable news debated her intentions. Online trolls picked apart her military record. Anonymous blogs whispered, "She staged it. It was planned." And under every video of her arrest, the comments boiled with fire. She was confrontational. She should have complied. Why was she filming in the first place? Maya didn't flinch, but she read it all. She always believed in knowing your enemy, even when they hid behind usernames. Amira paced across the living room with her phone pressed to her ear. "We expected this," she said. "They're trying to discredit you, paint you as unstable or dangerous. Same playbook, different case." Maya sat at the kitchen table, sipping black coffee, her dog lying at her feet like a shadow. "Let them talk," she said. "I've been called worse in war zones." "But you weren't fighting the internet in Afghanistan," Amira replied. "This is different." Maya looked up. This is just another battlefield." That afternoon, 2 men in suits knocked on Maya's door. They weren't with the police. They introduced themselves as independent auditors from the city's Office of Police Oversight. One smiled too wide, the other never blinked. "We'd like to talk, off the record." Maya didn't open the door. She spoke through the screen. "Talk to my lawyer." They handed her a card anyway, then left slowly, glancing over their shoulders like she might run. Inside, Maya closed the door and locked it again. "Off the record," she muttered. "No such thing." That night, her dog barked for the first time in days. Low, short, controlled. Maya stepped to the window, careful not to draw the curtain. An unmarked car idled across the street. It didn't belong to a neighbor. It didn't move for over an hour. By morning, the department released a statement. "We are reviewing the footage and conducting a thorough internal investigation. We ask the public to withhold judgment until all facts are verified." But Maya had already been judged. By strangers, by neighbors, by cameras. And she was done waiting. Amira arrived with news. "The ACLU is on board. They're ready to file a federal civil rights complaint." Maya leaned back in her chair. "Will it matter?" Amira didn't answer right away. "It will hurt them more than you think." Later that day, Maya took her dog for another walk. Same street, same leash, but this time she wore a vest under her jacket and the dog had 2 cameras, one on the collar, one on the harness. She wasn't scared. She was building a record. At the corner of the block, she saw a boy on a scooter slow down. He stared at her dog with wide eyes. "Is he a police dog?" he asked. "No," Maya replied. "He's mine." The boy smiled. "He looks strong." "He is," and so was she.
Chapter 7. Under Oath. Maya adjusted her blazer in the courthouse mirror. It felt strange, dressing up for the same system that had tried to bury her. But there was a difference today. This time they couldn't silence her. This time she had the floor. Outside the hearing room, cameras lined the hallway like vultures. Civil rights activists stood shoulder to shoulder with journalists. She wasn't just a woman with a story anymore. She was a witness. Inside, the room was fluorescent, lit, and cold. A city council oversight committee sat at the front. 7 officials, stone-faced and quiet. To their right sat the police chief, flanked by legal counsel. Not far behind, 2 officers Maya would never forget. The ones who had arrested her. One of them refused to meet her gaze. The other did, and smirked. Amira leaned toward her. "Stick to the facts. Don't let emotion trip you." Maya nodded once, then stood. She walked to the center of the room. Her dog waited outside, by court order, but she still felt him with her, like armor no one could see. A clerk held up a small Bible. "Do you swear to tell the truth?" "I do," Maya said before the question finished. She turned to face the panel. My name is Maya Carter. I'm a former K-9 trainer for the U.S. Army. I served 2 tours overseas. I've trained dogs to find bombs, to track enemy fighters, and to save soldiers' lives. What happened to me on April 3rd wasn't just an overreaction. It was a violation, a weaponization of fear. She paused. One officer followed me without cause. Hours later, 2 arrived. No questions, no warnings. I was arrested in front of my home. My only crime. Walking while black with a big dog. A murmur stirred behind her. The council president tapped his pen. Miss Carter, are you claiming racial profiling? I'm not claiming it, Maya replied. I'm proving it. She held up the flash drive. This is the footage from the camera I placed on my dog. It shows every moment, unedited, time-stamped. She passed it to the clerk. Play it. The room dimmed as the video appeared on a central screen. The dog's eye view showed everything. The car creeping behind them, the officer's approach, the silent arrest, the leash yanked from Maya's hand. Gasps echoed across the room. Even one council member looked away. When the screen went black, no one spoke, until the police chief cleared his throat. This is an active investigation. Then investigate this. Amira cut in. It's your department, your policies, your badge. The chief looked like he wanted to vanish. After the hearing, Maya stepped outside to a barrage of flashbulbs and questions. Miss Carter, do you feel vindicated? Do you plan to sue the department? What would you say to other black women dealing with this kind of treatment? Maya raised her hand. They quieted. I didn't ask for attention. I asked for accountability, and now that the truth is out there, don't look at me. Look at them. She turned and walked away. That night, Amira brought over Thai food and a bottle of wine. You were incredible today, she said. Didn't flinch once. Maya smiled faintly. I've been in worse rooms. Her dog lay on the rug, eyes half closed, tail tapping slowly. She reached down to scratch behind his ears. I didn't do it alone, she said. Chapter 8. The Backlash. The clip had gone viral, again. But this time it wasn't just the original footage. Now it was edited, spliced, misused. Clips of Maya's speech were turned into memes. Footage of her walking her dog was slowed down and captioned with sarcasm. Talk shows debated her character like a headline and dissected her silence like it was a threat. They weren't attacking the facts anymore. They were attacking her. Maya scrolled through her phone with cold detachment. Every headline felt like a warning shot. Ex-military or media manipulator? Was the arrest justified after all? Can a dog be used as a weapon in civil cases? They couldn't discredit the footage, so they tried to discredit the woman. Amira stormed in mid-afternoon, hair pulled back, fire in her eyes. They're floating a counter-lawsuit, she said, tossing a manila folder onto Maya's table. Defamation, claiming the officers suffered emotional trauma due to online harassment? Maya raised an eyebrow. They're suing me for people finding out what they did? Exactly. Maya closed the folder without opening it. Let them try. That evening, a neighbor who had never spoken to her before knocked on the door. He was older, white, hands tucked in his jacket. Just wanted to say, not everyone here agrees with what they did to you. She studied him carefully. And yet no one said anything when it happened. He hesitated, then nodded. You're right. I'm sorry. Then he turned and walked away. By nightfall, Maya had begun receiving anonymous messages. Most were just noise, cowards behind screens. But one chilled her. It was a single photo. Her house, taken from the street. No text, no name, just presence. She didn't call the police. She knew better. Instead, she checked the cameras outside. Her own, not the department's. She checked her locks, her alarms, and she placed her dog's collar camera on the charging dock ready for morning. Amira offered to move her into a hotel temporarily. Maya refused. If I leave, they win. They already know where you live. They always knew. The next morning, Maya opened the front door wearing body armor under her hoodie. She clipped the leash to her dog and stepped onto the sidewalk like it was a battlefield. Because it was. A man in a dark sedan parked across the street raised his phone as she passed. A woman walking her golden retriever crossed the road. Maya didn't react. She walked. Her dog's pace stayed steady. Camera on, eyes forward. Later that day, Amira received word. The city had moved up the date for their final hearing. Too many headlines. Too much heat. They wanted it over. "It's a tactic," Amira warned. "If we're not ready, they'll try to bury it quickly." Maya stood in the doorway, arms folded. "Then we give them something they can't ignore." That night, Maya prepared a new file. Not just the footage, but the history. Documents of past complaints against the same officers. Clips of other civilians who had been harassed or detained without cause. It wasn't just her story anymore. It never had been. Chapter 9. No more silence. The community center was packed. Not with officials, not with press, but with people. Mothers holding signs, veterans in uniform, young activists in hoodies and worn sneakers. A low rumble of voices filled the room like distant thunder. They weren't there to watch. They were there to speak. At the center of it all stood Maya. No podium this time. Just a folding chair, a microphone clipped to her collar, and a screen behind her playing a silent loop of the footage. Her dog's camera capturing everything the world had now seen. She didn't start with a speech. She started with a name. "Marissa Kane," Maya said. "Pulled over a block from my house, slammed against her car, no charges." Another image appeared on the screen. A young black woman, bruised and silent, sitting on a curb. "Daniel Lopez," Maya continued, "accused of trespassing, on his own lawn." Click. "Eli Waters, beaten in the station, no camera, no justice." Click. "This is not just about me, it never was." After her, the stories poured in. One by one, residents stood and shared what they had buried. Tears, rage, trembling voices. Some had waited years for someone to listen. A teenager talked about being followed home from school. An older man shared the name of a nephew arrested for standing outside a convenience store. Even a former officer stood up and said, "We're taught to see threats where there are none." By the time it ended, Maya had said nothing more. She didn't need to. The silence had broken. The next morning, the footage was everywhere. Again. But this time, it wasn't just hers. It was all of theirs. Edited into a montage. Voices overlapping. Faces fading into each other. This is how it feels. This is what it looks like. This is what we survive. Maya watched it with quiet eyes. Her dog rested beside her, head on her boot, calm as ever. She reached down and scratched behind his ears. "You started all this," she whispered, without barking once. That same day, the mayor issued a statement. "We hear the community. We are reviewing all procedures and officer conduct under new scrutiny." Empty words, maybe, but words they had forced into daylight. That night, Maya stood at her window. Same street, same sidewalk. But something had shifted. Across the road, a neighbor's porch light flickered in a pattern. Once, twice, pause. A signal she recognized from overseas. "We see you." She smiled faintly. It wasn't a victory, but it was movement. Then her phone buzzed. Amira. "They just set the hearing for next week. Final ruling, department policy, disciplinary action, all of it." Maya didn't hesitate. "We'll be ready." Chapter 10. Face to face. City Hall smelled like cold coffee and paper. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sterile gray glow. It was the kind of place built to intimidate without ever raising its voice. Maya sat across from a long lacquered table, hands folded, face unreadable. Across from her sat the chief of police, Doyle Mercer, thick-necked, silver-haired, a man who had spent 30 years convincing people his silence meant strength. To his right were the two officers who had arrested her. One looked bored, the other defensive. To Maya's left sat Amira, calm as ice, a thin folder of evidence neatly arranged before her. The hearing was closed to the public, but not to accountability. The chairwoman of the Civilian Review Board cleared her throat. "We're here to determine whether the officer's actions violated policy, civil rights protections, and professional standards." Amira leaned forward. "We'll also be submitting a formal federal complaint following this session." The chief raised an eyebrow. "Is that a threat?" "No," Amira replied smoothly. "It's a courtesy." Maya's dog wasn't with her. Courtroom restrictions. But she could feel him in every step she'd taken to get here. He was the reason the truth existed in more than just words. Maya was asked to speak. She stood. "You know my name," she said. "You know what happened. You've all seen the footage. But what you don't seem to understand is what that moment did to me and to others like me." She met each of their eyes. "You treated me like I was dangerous for walking my own street with a leashed dog. You arrested me without charges, without rights. And when I didn't yell, when I didn't resist, you still tried to bury it." She reached into the folder and pulled out a second flash drive. "This one has 2 more encounters with those same officers. Different people, same pattern. Your system protects that." The chief shifted uncomfortably. "This isn't about a mistake," Maya continued. "It's about a culture." The chairwoman nodded. "Chief Mercer, your department has had 12 civilian complaints in the last 18 months. None were sustained. Would you like to respond?" Mercer leaned forward. "We stand by our officers. The situation was unclear, and Ms. Carter's military background, while commendable, does not exempt her from procedure." Amira cut in. "What procedure allows an officer to arrest a citizen without charges or Miranda rights?" Mercer didn't answer. The room tightened. Every word felt heavier. Then the officer who had grabbed Maya's arm the day of her arrest spoke up. "She looked like she was hiding something. I followed my training." "What did you think she was hiding?" Amira asked. "A weapon." Maya locked eyes with him. "You mean my dog?" Silence. The chairwoman scribbled something in her notes. "This board will deliberate and issue a recommendation within 5 business days." The hearing ended. Papers rustled. Chairs scraped. No one clapped. No one smiled. But Maya stood tall, because she had faced them, not online, not behind a podium, but here, in their room, on their terms, and she had not backed down. Outside, Amira exhaled. "You didn't just speak. You broke something." "Good," Maya said. "Maybe now they'll feel it too." That evening, she walked her dog down the same street. Same leash, same pace. This time, no cruisers followed. No neighbors stared. But from a parked car at the corner, a man filmed her through his window. He didn't hide it. Maya stopped, looked directly at him, and smiled. Let them record. She had her own footage now, of strength. Chapter 11. The Decision. 5 days later, a single email changed everything. Subject line, ruling notification, CRB panel review. Sender, Office of Civil Oversight. Maya opened it without hesitation. Inside, just 3 lines. The Civilian Review Board has determined that the officers involved in your detainment acted in violation of department policy and civil rights statutes. Disciplinary recommendations have been submitted to the Office of Internal Affairs. You will be notified upon administrative action. No fanfare, no press release, just quiet confirmation. Maya stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she exhaled, slowly. Not in relief, but in readiness. Amira arrived minutes later. "You saw it?" she asked, dropping her bag by the table. "I read it 3 times, Maya said. "They're recommending both officers for suspension without pay, 30 days. Maya's jaw tightened. "That's it?" "They're not done," Amira said. "Internal Affairs still has authority to escalate, demotion, even termination." Maya shook her head. "And if they don't?" Amira looked up. Then we escalate. That night, Maya walked through the neighborhood again. This time, the air felt different. It wasn't victory. It wasn't peace. It was the edge of something unfinished. A woman from down the street waved. Another crossed the sidewalk to hand her a card, handwritten thank yous from a local youth group. "Because of you," the card read. "We believe silence isn't safety." Maya tucked it into her jacket. At home, her dog rested beside the sliding glass door, his camera collar back on, always ready. She opened her laptop and found her inbox flooded. Not media, not trolls, people, strangers writing from Chicago, Atlanta, Oakland. "I saw what you did. I've been through the same. I didn't know we could fight back." One message stood out. A woman in uniform. Navy. "They tried to discredit you like they did to me, but I'm still standing. And now, because of you, so are others." The next morning, Maya received a call from the city. Not a press officer, not a lawyer, the mayor herself. "Miss Carter, I'd like to speak with you, on the record." Maya paused. "Is this about protecting your image?" "No," the mayor said carefully. "It's about changing what caused this." Maya gave a short, humorless laugh. "Now you care? I should have cared sooner." Silence. Then Maya said, "Fine. But I'm not just talking. I'm bringing a plan." She hung up, then walked to her bookshelf, pulled out a leather folder labeled Protocols Military K-9 Operations, and began writing. Policy suggestions, oversight frameworks, use of force accountability. If they were going to ask for her voice, she'd bring them her full mind. Because she didn't survive this to be a headline. She survived to make sure no one else became one. Chapter 12. The Reform Meeting. City Hall smelled no different than it had the last time Maya walked its halls. But this time, she wasn't here for answers. She was here with them. The mayor's office was cleaner than expected. Sterile white walls, motivational posters, and a large wooden desk that screamed, "Command." Mayor Denise Holloway stood as Maya entered, her hand extended in welcome. Behind her stood two aides and the deputy chief of policy. Maya didn't shake her hand. Not out of rudeness, but clarity. "I'm not here for a photo op," Maya said. Mayor Holloway lowered her hand, nodded. "Of course. You brought a plan?" Maya slid a folder across the desk, labeled in bold block letters, Civilian Protections and Accountability Act, Draft 1. Over the next hour, Maya broke it down. Clear guidelines for officer conduct during civilian encounters, mandatory body cams for K-9 units and plainclothes officers, transparent disciplinary procedures for civil rights violations, public access to complaint data, and community liaisons in internal reviews. "What you're suggesting," the deputy chief said, "is a complete overhaul." Maya didn't flinch. "Then start over." "But the union, I've been in firefights overseas with more accountability than your department has in a grocery store parking lot," Maya snapped. The room fell silent. The mayor finally leaned forward. "We'll need data, reports, input from others." "Good," Maya said, "because I brought more than stories." Over the next 2 weeks, Maya did what no one expected. She met with civil rights leaders. She coordinated with veterans groups. She even sat with law enforcement whistleblowers who were finally ready to speak. And when the revised proposal was ready, she didn't give it to the press. She gave it to the people. Community meetings lit up across the city. Families, teachers, former detainees, people who never trusted the system finally had something to point to and say, that's what we want. Meanwhile, resistance grew louder. The police union issued a public statement condemning the proposal as a political stunt and an attack on those who serve. One council member tweeted, "Since when do dog trainers get to rewrite police policy?" Maya didn't respond. She didn't have to, because the footage still spoke louder than all of them. Amira met her one evening, slumped on the couch, folders spread across the table like battle plans. You realize you're doing more than any sitting official has done in a decade, Amira said. I'm just making noise they can't ignore. No, Amira said. You're making law. Maya paused, looked at her dog sleeping beside the couch. I'm making sure no one else has to wear a camera on their dog just to prove they're human. By the end of the week, 3 more cities had reached out. Chicago, Baltimore, Oakland. They wanted to use Maya's framework. She sent it freely. This fight isn't mine to keep, she wrote in her response. It's ours to finish. Chapter 13. The Sabotage. The city council chamber was packed. Maya stood in the wings with Amira, watching through a narrow slit in the door. Her reform proposal, now backed by hundreds of signatures, media support, and civil rights groups, was about to be voted on. She had spoken, the community had spoken, but power never gave up quietly. The mayor stepped to the mic first, reading prepared remarks. She sounded polished, committed, maybe even proud. But Maya knew better. This wasn't about justice. It was about optics, reputation control. Then came Councilman Ray Kessler. He had stayed quiet for weeks, but today he leaned into the mic with a sly grin and a shuffle of papers. I've reviewed the proposal in detail, he began, and while I support the spirit of accountability, this particular bill, crafted by someone with no legislative background, presents serious operational risks. Maya's jaw tensed. Furthermore, Kessler continued, new evidence has come forward suggesting that the incident involving Ms. Carter may not be as clear-cut as previously portrayed. Maya stiffened. Amira's eyes snapped to her. What evidence? On screen, a still image appeared. Maya's arrest, paused mid-frame. Then another, her walking away from officers. Then another, grainy, low-res footage allegedly taken from a dashcam showing her reaching toward her waistband. A false narrative, spliced, distorted, intentional. Gasps echoed across the room. Maya burst through the chamber doors, her boots hitting tile like thunder. That footage is doctored, she said, loud and firm. And you know it. Kessler looked up slowly, smug. Ms. Carter, the chairwoman warned, you're not authorized to speak. I didn't ask permission. She turned to the crowd, to the cameras, to the eyes that had once believed her. That footage was edited, intentionally. The original file has full timestamps, and my hands are never near my waistband. The only thing I touched that day was my dog's leash. Maya locked eyes with the council. If this is how you treat truth when it's inconvenient, then say it. But don't hide behind a pixelated lie. After a moment, Amira stepped forward and handed over a sealed drive. Full, uncut footage. Metadata verified. Chain of custody intact. The chairwoman sighed. We'll recess and review. Outside, Maya paced. They're scrambling, Amira said. This was planned. That edit didn't just appear. They're afraid, Maya said. So they're smearing me. Amira looked at her. You're not just pushing policy. You're threatening an ecosystem. Maya laughed bitterly, then let it fall. 2 hours later, the council reconvened. The chairwoman looked drained. It appears the new footage presented earlier was altered. The source is under investigation. A beat passed. Then, we will proceed with the vote. Maya didn't exhale until the first "I" echoed through the chamber. Then another, and another. 9 in favor, 2 against. It passed. Outside, a crowd cheered. Microphones rushed toward Maya's face. Her dog barked once from behind the barrier, wagging his tail like he knew. She leaned into the mic calmly. They tried to erase the truth again, but this time, it filmed back. End of chapter 13. Ready for chapter 14? Only 2 chapters left. Next up, public fallout, personal reflection, and one final threat Maya didn't see coming. Chapter 14. The Threat Within. The night after the vote, the city felt quieter. Maya sat on her porch, coffee in hand, her dog curled at her feet like always. But even in the stillness, she couldn't relax. Victory wasn't peace. Not yet. The policy had passed. The edits were exposed. The council's vote had validated everything she'd fought for. But something didn't feel finished. Amira came by late. She wore a rare smile and brought a bottle of champagne. "To survival," she toasted, "and to making them regret underestimating you." Maya raised her cup but didn't drink. "There's a car that's been parking on the next block," she said. "Different driver every time." Amira frowned. Surveillance? Or intimidation? They both knew the line was thin. 2 days later, Maya received a manila envelope in her mailbox. No stamp, no return address. Inside, a printed email chain. She flipped through it slowly, the weight in her chest growing heavier with every page. It was a private thread between Councilman Kessler and someone from her own camp. A leak. Every strategy note she and Amira had drafted, every meeting date, even a rough outline of the dog's camera placement and field of view. The final page showed the sender. Deputy Policy Chief Lara Denton, Mayor Holloway's right hand. Maya's stomach turned. "She sat in the room," Maya whispered. "She read the damn proposal with me." Amira scanned the papers. They planted her to track what we were planning. She helped draft edits. She shaped the language. She slowed it down, Amira added, so they could build a smear campaign first. That night, Maya didn't sleep. She sat on the floor beside her dog, resting her hand on his collar, not to check the camera, but to remind herself. You were right to trust no one. The people she had faced head-on weren't the only threat. The ones who smiled, nodded, and agreed. They were sometimes worse. The next day, she didn't call the mayor. She went straight to the press. Standing outside City Hall, Maya handed the folder to a journalist from Channel 7. No speech, no spin, just truth. By noon, the exposé was live. City Hall insider leaked documents in attempt to undermine civilian rights bill. It trended within the hour. The mayor's office issued a rushed statement. "We are conducting a full internal review and have placed Ms. Denton on immediate administrative leave." But Maya wasn't interested in apologies anymore. She stood outside the building that once tried to silence her and faced every camera without blinking. "I'm not shocked. I'm not disappointed. I'm prepared. They infiltrated a movement to protect power, but we built this reform so it wouldn't die with one scandal. It's in the law now, and we'll keep protecting it." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't tremble. It landed like a verdict. That evening, the car from the next block vanished. So did the strange messages. So did the silence. In their place, a different kind of noise, calls from new cities, requests to consult, messages from mothers, soldiers, and organizers. The fight had spread. Chapter 15. The last walk. It started just like the first. Maya clipped the leash onto her dog's collar and stepped outside. The morning was quiet, sunlight breaking through branches, birds calling across rooftops. Same sidewalk, same pace, but everything had changed. No patrol cars crept behind her, no stares from behind curtains, no fear disguised as curiosity, just Maya and her dog, walking free. Since the scandal broke, 3 city officials had resigned. The officers involved in her arrest were officially dismissed. The Civilian Protection Act had been adopted by 2 more cities. And Maya? She never once called herself a hero. She just called herself ready to rest. She passed the corner where it all began, where the cruiser once sat like a warning sign. Today, it was just an empty curb. A mother watering her lawn waved. A boy on a scooter called out, "Hey, that's the brave lady!" She smiled, nodded, and kept walking. Amira met her at the coffee shop on 9th Street. No cameras, no meetings, just a quiet table near the window. "You're leaving," Amira said without asking. Maya sipped her drink. "Just for a while." "Where to?" "Somewhere quieter, with woods, room to run." "For him or for you?" Maya glanced at her dog, resting under the table. Both. That afternoon, she visited the community center one last time. Inside, a new mural had been painted. Maya hadn't approved it, hadn't even known it was coming. It showed a black woman standing tall, a dog by her side, and a camera lens hidden in his collar. The words beneath it read, "Because the system didn't listen. She made it watch." Maya stood before it for a long time, saying nothing. Back at home, she packed lightly. A few books, her old uniform, the collar camera, cleaned, sealed, and retired. She wouldn't need it where she was going. Before she left, she walked through the neighborhood once more. The dog padded beside her, older now but still strong. They didn't pass fear, they passed legacy. The final stop was the local K-9 training center. Maya had donated funds to build it, quietly, anonymously. Inside, a new plaque was mounted at the gate. The Carter Program for dogs that defend and the people who walk beside them. She didn't tell anyone it was named after her. Some truths don't need credit, just continuity. As the sun dipped low, she stepped into her truck, her dog already curled in the passenger seat. She looked at her house once more, the porch where she once sat, the path she once feared to walk. Then she drove, not away, forward. In a world that had tried to silence her, Maya Carter had spoken. Through action, through proof, through persistence. She didn't break the system, she cracked it open. And once it opened, it could never fully close again.